Over the weekend, we had a gigantic protest in New York called the People's Climate Protest. Get this, over 300,000 people took to the streets to demand action on climate change and renewable energy. That is such a stunningly large number. It's mind-blowing. The pictures from the event, it's like people as far as the eye can see. So this is a really serious, really big event. I've seen numbers as high as 400,000. Now, those are more unverified, but the number that everybody seems to agree upon, or I should say the mainstream outlets seem to agree upon in terms of the print outlets, it's anywhere from 300,000 to 310,000 people. So we also have a UN climate summit that's happening in New York this week. I think this is one of the main reasons why they chose this week to do the protest. But the angle to the story that is both fascinating and immensely depressing to me is that this is the media capital of the world where they're doing the protest. And would you like to take a guess how much live coverage of the protest there was from the three big ones, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN? 0 minutes. 0 minutes and 0 seconds. None of them sent a camera crew. None of them. Okay. I have to say, when I learned that fact, my mind immediately went Alex Jonesy. I was like, wait. 310,000 people get together in the media capital of the world to protest for action on climate change. There's none of the big three cameras there. None. Okay, what's going on here? This is absurd. This is ridiculous. Because stop and think about it. Remember when the Tea Party protests were going on? You couldn't walk 32 feet without seeing 8 cameras shoved in somebody's face. I mean, Fox News was covering it like, oh, here we have the most patriotic human beings on planet Earth. These are the Tea Party people. They love the Founding Fathers. They love America. They love patriotism, and they're just standing up for their rights. That's what they're doing. They're marching. Now, these could be protests of like 3,000 people maybe gathered somewhere, and most of them are on rascal scooters, and it's treated like, this is the biggest protest ever. This is like the Million Man March minus 1 million men, but we're going to act like it's plus 1 million men. So why is it that that protest gets covered in that way, and CNN and MSNBC too? I mean, they covered it in a way as if to suggest, well, this is a big deal. Like it or hate it, it's a big deal. And look, some can fire back and they'd say, well, the media covered Occupy Wall Street. Right, they did, by mocking them. Occupy Wall Street released like 42 different manifestos describing exactly why they're doing the protest. But on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, all of them simultaneously had the same message. Why are these people protesting? We don't understand. They just look like they haven't showered and they're fucking in public parks. We don't get it. I mean, they should probably just get a job and clean themselves up, these rowdy, rascally youths over here. So when it's a liberal protest, either it's, treated in a scornful way, or it's totally ignored, as we're seeing with this climate protest. And when it's a conservative protest, oh, everybody sing the praise and love it endlessly and act like, well, these are just people who are heroic like our founders. They're dressed like our founders, see? They have tea bags hanging from the top of their hats. They must be patriots. No, this is absolute madness. Now, just like I said in the intro to the show, I think that this story... Now, maybe this is a leap, maybe some people will disagree with me, but this is one of the first things that clicked in my mind when I read these headlines. I think this kind of proves Noam Chomsky's thesis in his book about the media from a while back called Manufacturing Consent. For those of you that don't know, what that book argues is that the media in the United States, at least the mainstream media, and this is before the internet that he wrote the book, but you basically have a media that stays just as on message with the powerful and the elites as you would have in a fascist state. That's his argument, that the media is just as controlled in America as it is in fascist states. There are just different methods of control. So you get the same singular message that's put out there, but not from the government holding a club over your head and saying, I'll beat your ass if you don't say the right thing. They have other ways of vetting people to get through the system and other ways to control the message. And look, the reality is, to me, that it appears like there's a certain spectrum of thought that's acceptable, and once you deviate from that thought, well, then you're not allowed in the conversation, and then you're not covered. So if you want to go on MSNBC and you want to say something that's somewhat in favor of, hey, we should do some sort of action on climate change, and it's vague and it's amorphous and people can interpret it however they want, sure, you're allowed to do that within the confines of the media system that we have. But would any mainstream network cover a story like this 300,000 plus protest in a way as if to suggest, oh my God, the government better do something because people are almost revolting over the fact that we haven't done climate action yet? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't, because the spectrum of the media allows you to either cheer rah-rah for the Republicans and go as far right-wing as you possibly want, or it says you could go just as far as establishment Democratic politicians to the left and no further left. If you go to the left of Democratic politicians, you're immediately dismissed from the conversation and you're not treated seriously, even though the American people are significantly to the left of the Democratic politicians, as this climate protest is showing here. Now, understand something. It's not just the fact that, like, oh, these are the only 310,000 people in the U.S. that care about the climate. No. In fact, if you look at the polls, the American people have been screaming for a long time to actually do something on the climate. Just the politicians aren't listening to that. But here we have a situation where the media, the mainstream media, has totally ignored a gigantic story. They always act like, you know, oh, well, Obama's done maybe a little bit on climate change, but he's only going to do more if the American people prod him to do more. Well, here they are prodding him to do more, and you're fucking ignoring it. You're not covering it. And then when the government doesn't do anything on climate change, what are you going to do? You're not going to cover that either. What you're going to do is you're going to sit there and cover politics like it's a horse race. Ooh, Hillary Clinton said this. Ooh, Chris Christie said that. I don't give a fuck what either one of them says. I care about the actual policy issues. And one of those issues is climate change. In fact, it's one of the most important issues. Because if we don't address climate change, there's no future for us. Now, a bunch of fucking oil executive idiots might not give a shit about that because they'll be dead by then, so what the fuck do they care? But hey, you're gonna have great-grandchildren, dipsticks. Do you not realize this? Do you want to fuck up the planet so you can get a little richer now and screw it over for everybody down the road because you're a douche? I guess that is what they want. But what this story shows is that, number one, the American people are on point, okay? They're just flat out on point on this issue. To get 310,000 people to get out there and protest on a certain issue. I mean, you couldn't get 310,000 people out on the street to argue in favor of apple pie, to say puppies are cute. But you get it for action on climate change. So, number one, the American people are on point. Number two, the media is insanely pathetic. Insanely pathetic. I'm a little rinky-dink blog talk radio show and YouTube channel, okay? And I have to be the one to cover this? I have to be the one to come out here and say, hey guys, hello, big deal going on over here. And meanwhile, what's the mainstream media covering? The fucking 2016 presidential race years in advance, but they can't cover a protest with 310,000 people discussing one of the most serious issues of our time. It's so sad.